The woman says that she caught her boyfriend cheating with Baltasar's wife, and Baltasar's wife was a very close friend of this woman, as she herself admits.
I still remember the day I met Maria, Baltasar's wife, my best friend, my sister in all but blood. We had been through everything together, from late-night confessions about our failing marriages to laughter over cheap wine, mocking the powerful men who thought they owned us. Baltasar was the head of the National Financial Investigation Agency in Equatorial Guinea, a man of influence and intimidation. But to us, he was simply Maria's husband, the womanizer, the liar, the man who thought his power excused his sins. I had lost count of the times Maria cried to me about his affairs, the expensive gifts he bought to cover them up, the way he would disappear for nights at a time. I thought we were in this together. I thought we were sisters in suffering. Then I found out the truth. It was a warm, humid night when I walked into the hotel room. My boyfriend, the man I had loved, the one I trusted, was there. And so was Maria. The sheets were tangled. Their bodies were tangled. My breath caught in my throat as Maria turned to me, eyes wide with guilt, lips slightly parted as if she had been caught in the act of speaking my name. "Carla," she whispered. I wanted to scream. I wanted to laugh. The betrayal was so thick in the air I could almost choke on it. Maria, my best friend. The woman who knew every pain I had suffered, every tear I had shed over this man. And yet here she was, doing the very thing she once despised about Baltasar. My boyfriend, no, the man I thought was my boyfriend, stood up, stammering some excuse, but I didn't hear him. My vision was locked on Maria. "You," I finally managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. She closed her eyes as if bracing for a slap. Maybe she expected one. Maybe she deserved one. I could have screamed at her, called her every name in the book. But I didn't. Instead, I laughed. A bitter, hollow laugh that echoed in the room. Maria opened her mouth, maybe to beg for forgiveness, maybe to explain, but I didn't need to hear it. I turned on my heel and walked out. As I stepped into the cool night air, I felt something break inside me. The pain was sharp, but beneath it, there was something else: freedom. Maria had betrayed me, but maybe she had freed me, too. From her. From him. From all of it. Maria didn't stop sleeping with him after that night. I should have walked away, cut them both off like a gangrenous limb, but some poisons don't leave the body so easily. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself I was done. And yet, late at night, when I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I would wonder, is she with him right now? Is she in his bed? Does she think of me at all? The answer came, uninvited, on a night much like the one that shattered everything. I was at a bar, the kind where the lights are dim and the music drowns out your thoughts. A friend, no, an acquaintance had dragged me out, claiming I needed to move on. I wasn't listening to her, though. My eyes kept drifting toward the back of the room, where a familiar figure sat in a shadowed booth. Maria. And across from her, leaning in, his hand brushing against hers, was him. I could have ignored them. I should have. But something inside me snapped. I walked over, slow and deliberate, savoring the way Maria's spine stiffened when she saw me. She looked up, her face carefully blank, but I saw the flicker of something in her eyes. Guilt. No. Something colder. She wasn't just sleeping with him, she had claimed him. "You're still at it," I said, my voice almost conversational. Maria tilted her head, a small smile playing at her lips. "I suppose I am. No excuses. No apologies." Something twisted in my chest, sharp and searing. Not just betrayal. Disgust. He shifted uncomfortably beside her, but he didn't speak. Of course, he didn't. He was a man who followed pleasure wherever it led him, a man who never had to face the consequences of his choices. Maria, on the other hand, she was different. She had been my sister, and now, she was something else entirely. I leaned in, close enough that only she could hear me. "Enjoy him while you can, Maria. You and I both know he won't stay." Her smile faltered for just a second. I straightened, turned, and walked away, finally feeling the weight of her betrayal settle into something solid. Something final. Maria hadn't just slept with my boyfriend. She had become the very thing she once swore she hated. I told myself I was done with both of them, but the truth is, I wasn't. I tried to walk away, but the wound festered, and I found myself circling back, unable to let it rest. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was something uglier, a need to prove that I still had control over my own life, over the people who had shattered it. So, I confronted them. The first time was outside Maria's apartment. I waited, arms crossed, back pressed against my car as she stepped out, looking effortlessly put together, as if she hadn't just spent the night wrapped around the man who used to be mine. "You need to stop," I said, cutting straight to it. Maria sighed, tilting her head like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "Carla." "No. Don't Carla me," I snapped. "You know exactly what you're doing. You know what this means." She gave a small shrug, her lips curving into something that wasn't quite a smirk but wasn't an apology either. "I can't help who I want." I scoffed. "That's a convenient excuse." She stepped closer, her perfume my perfume, the one I had introduced her to lingering in the air between us. "If he wanted you, he'd be with you." The words stung. Not because I still wanted him, but because she was saying them. Because she, of all people, should have understood how much they could wound. I swallowed my anger and forced myself to nod. "Fine. You want him? Take him. But don't come to me when it falls apart. Because it will fall apart, Maria. He's not the kind of man who stays." For a second, something flickered in her eyes, doubt, maybe. But she masked it quickly. "I guess we'll see," she said lightly before walking away. I should have left it at that. But the next day, I found myself standing in front of him. "End it," I told him, my voice steady. "Whatever it is between you two, end it." He sighed, running a hand through his hair like this was all just so exhausting for him. "Carla, I didn't mean for this to happen." I laughed bitterly. "You never do." He hesitated, like he wanted to find the right words, the right lie. "It doesn't mean anything." I shook my head. "It does to her." And for a brief moment, I saw something in his expression, hesitation, regret. But it wasn't enough. Because a week later, I saw them together again. Maria, slipping into his car, smiling as he reached for her. He didn't stop. She didn't stop. And maybe, deep down, I had never really expected them to. I wasn't planning to tell Baltasar. He was the kind of man who solved his problems with power, money, and intimidation. He had spies in every corner of the city, hands in every pocket. If he wanted to know something, he would find out. But somehow, Maria had kept this from him. And that was what made me do it. She thought she could betray me and walk away untouched. She thought she could smile in my face while she slipped into bed with the man I had once loved. If she wasn't going to pay for what she did, then I would make sure she at least felt it. So I told him. We met in his office late at night, the city lights glowing behind him, casting his face in shadows. Baltasar was a man used to bad news, but as I spoke calmly, methodically, sparing him no detail, his expression darkened in a way that sent a chill down my spine. He let me finish. Then he leaned back in his chair, silent for a long moment. "I always knew Maria had it in her," he finally said, voice smooth but laced with something sharp. "But I didn't expect it to be your man." I shrugged. "Neither did I." He exhaled, running a hand over his jaw. "Tell me, Carla, why did you come to me with this?" "Because I wanted her to suffer. Because I wanted her to know that betrayal doesn't come without consequences." But I didn't say that. Instead, I met his gaze. "You deserved to know." A slow smile crept onto his lips. It wasn't amusement. It was something else. Something calculating. "I do deserve to know," he agreed. Then, after a pause, he added, "and I deserve payback." The weight of his words settled between us, heavy and unmistakable. I straightened. "Baltasar." He stood, stepping around his desk, closing the space between us. "She embarrassed me, made a fool of me. And you," he reached out, fingers trailing up my arm, his touch light but possessive. "You were wronged, too." I pulled away. "I didn't tell you so you could use me to get back at her." He chuckled. "Come now, Carla. Don't you want to see the look on her face when she realizes she lost everything? I did. But not like this. I shook my head. Find another way to hurt her, Baltasar. I'm not your revenge. His eyes darkened, his jaw tightening. For a second, I thought he might push, might try to convince me. But then, just as quickly, his expression smoothed over, the cold, untouchable Baltasar slipping back into place. As you wish, he said simply. I didn't trust his calm. And I was right not to. Because Maria was about to find out that helleth no fury like a husband betrayed. Baltasar didn't like to be denied. A week after our conversation, he sent me a message. Weekend getaway. Gran Palacio Hotel, Malibu. My treat. I knew exactly what it meant. He wasn't the kind of man to waste time on subtlety. Maria's betrayal had wounded his pride, and he wanted his revenge served on silk sheets, with me beneath him. I should have ignored him. But I didn't. Maybe I wanted to see just how far he was willing to go. Maybe I wanted to remind myself that I still had the power to say no, the power to make him the one left wanting. So, I went. The moment I stepped inside, I felt the weight of his money. The lobby was all marble and gold, the kind of place politicians and foreign businessmen use to seal dirty deals. The staff greeted me like I was someone important, leading me to a private elevator that went straight up to the penthouse. The doors opened, and there he was, Baltasar, standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, a glass of whiskey in his hand, Malibu's skyline stretching behind him. You came, he said, turning to me with that knowing smirk. I came for the view, I shot back, stepping inside. He chuckled, setting his drink down. And what do you think? I glanced around the sweet plush furniture, a massive bed, a bottle of expensive champagne chilling on ice. It wasn't subtle. I think you're wasting your time. He walked toward me, slow and deliberate, like a predator testing the patience of its prey. Am I? I met his gaze, unflinching. Yes. He exhaled, shaking his head with a smile. You're making this difficult. I'm making this clear. Baltasar was a man used to getting what he wanted. His money, his power, his reputation, he wielded them like weapons, expecting doors and legs to open without resistance. But I wasn't Maria. I wasn't some desperate socialite looking for status. He reached out, brushing his fingers against my arm. You deserve more than what he gave you, Carla. I let out a sharp laugh. And you think you're the upgrade? His smirk faltered, just for a second. I think, he said smoothly, recovering, that we could both get what we want. I stepped back, out of his reach. You want to hurt Maria. I get it. But I won't be your weapon. His jaw tensed. And if I told you this isn't about Maria, I tilted my head. Then I'd tell you you're a liar. Silence stretched between us, thick with unspoken words. Then, finally, he sighed, running a hand over his face. Fine. His voice was controlled, but I saw the frustration simmering beneath it. Enjoy the suite for the night. Consider it a gift. I smiled, turning toward the door. I don't need your gifts, Baltasar. And with that, I walked away, leaving him with his whiskey, his revenge, and his bruised ego. But as I stepped into the elevator, I knew this wasn't over. Baltasar didn't like to lose. And I had just told him no. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Baltasar was many things: powerful, ruthless, dangerous, but he was not a man who took betrayal lightly. And yet, when I had told him about Maria and my ex, he hadn't raged. He hadn't shouted. He hadn't even seemed surprised. That bothered me more than anything. So, a few days after I walked out of that hotel suite, I called him. Meet me. He didn't ask why. He simply sent me a location. A private club in Malibu, one of those exclusive places where government officials and oil executives sealed their dirty deals over expensive cigars. I arrived before him, settling into a booth in the dimly lit lounge. When he finally walked in, dressed in his usual tailored suit, every eye in the room turned toward him. Baltasar carried power like a second skin, effortless, undeniable. He slid into the seat across from me, nodding at the waiter, who immediately brought him a glass of whiskey. You're still thinking about it, he said, his voice smooth. I didn't bother pretending. Why weren't you shocked? He took a slow sip, his dark eyes watching me over the rim of his glass. Because I knew. I felt my fingers tighten around my own drink. You knew. He nodded, setting the glass down. Not the details. Not that it was asterisk. Your man. But I've known for a while that Maria was playing games behind my back. I swallowed the bitterness rising in my throat. Then why didn't you do anything? A small, knowing smile curved his lips. Who says I didn't? I exhaled sharply, leaning back. So what? You were just waiting for the right moment to punish her. Baltasar chuckled. Punishment is such a strong word. I glared at him. Don't play games with me. He studied me for a moment before tilting his head. Let me ask you something, Carla. Why did you tell me? My jaw tightened. Because you deserved to know. His smirk deepened. Did I? Or did you just want to see what I'd do to her? I hated how easily he saw through me. He leaned in, his voice low. Maria and I have an understanding. She does what she wants. I do what I want. As long as she keeps up appearances, I don't care. I shook my head, disgusted. That's not a marriage. His expression didn't change. It is in our world. Silence stretched between us. So, what now? I finally asked. Are you going to let her keep humiliating you? His smirk faded, and for the first time that night, his expression turned cold. No, Carla, he said softly. Maria doesn't get to humiliate me. Ever. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Baltasar wasn't angry because Maria had cheated. He was angry because she had made him look weak. And that more than the betrayal itself was something he wouldn't forgive. I set my glass down, suddenly feeling the weight of what I had done. I had wanted Maria to suffer. But I had just handed her over to a man who didn't lose. And whatever Baltasar had planned, she wouldn't see it coming. I woke up to my phone buzzing non-stop. Calls, messages, notifications, it was chaos. At first, I thought it was Maria. Maybe she had found out I told Baltasar about her affair. Maybe she was calling to scream at me, to call me a traitor. But when I finally picked up one of the calls, it wasn't her. It was a journalist I knew, someone who always had the latest dirt on the city's elite. Carla, he breathed, excitement buzzing in his voice. Have you seen it? Seen what? I muttered, still half asleep. The videos. I frowned, pushing myself upright. What videos? A beat of silence. Then, Baltasar's sex tapes. My stomach dropped. What? Someone leaked them online. Asterisk hundreds asterisk of them. He's all over the internet. They're saying he's been with over 200 women politicians' wives, models, even foreign diplomats. I felt my pulse hammer in my ears. That's impossible. Go check for yourself, he said before hanging up. With shaking fingers, I opened my browser. And there it was. Headlines exploded across every major news site. Shocking scandal: Baltasar's secret sex life expose. 200 women, hundreds of videos, who's behind the leak? Powerful official caught in career-ending scandal. I clicked on one of the articles, and my breath caught in my throat. Screenshots. Blurred clips. A list of names. Women from every corner of high society, tangled in sheets, moaning his name, caught in his grasp. And then, the most shocking part. The videos weren't just filmed in secret. Baltasar had been recording them himself. I closed my eyes, trying to process it. This wasn't just a scandal. This was a takedown. Someone had planned this. Someone had wanted him ruined. And I knew, in my gut, that Maria had just become the least of his problems. Maria called me 2 days after Baltasar's scandal exploded. At first, I thought about ignoring her, letting her sit in the mess she had helped create. But curiosity got the better of me. When I picked up, there was silence. Then, finally, a shaky breath. Carla, her voice was soft, almost fragile. I'm sorry. I let out a bitter laugh. For what, Maria? Sleeping with my boyfriend? Or realizing you married a man who was screwing half the country behind your back? She didn't answer right away. When she did, She sounded tired. For everything. I should have felt satisfaction. I should have reveled in the fact that the woman who had betrayed me was now on the other side of humiliation. But all I felt was emptiness. Maria had spent years crying to me about Baltasar's affairs, acting like she was a victim. But all along, she had been no better. She had betrayed me the same way he betrayed her. And now, after everything, she wanted my forgiveness. I sighed, rubbing my temple. Maria, I didn't ruin your marriage. You did. Just like you ruined our friendship. Another silence. Then, a whisper, I miss you. Something in my chest twisted, but I ignored it. Goodbye, Maria. I hung up. There was nothing left to say.